something just like this.
Welcome to the Great People Show, your guide to greatness, your GPS to excellence. Here's your host, J.J. White.
Good morning, everyone. I am your host, J.J. White of the Great People Show, and in the studio with me this morning is James Muncie. Welcome, James.
Good morning.
Many of you are joining us for the very first time here on 820 AM and 97.7 FM, The Answer in Richmond. Welcome to the Great People Show. I created the show to challenge people so that they can achieve their greatest self. We are here for purpose development. Not just professional development, and absolutely not self-help. Because if you're only helping yourself, you'll live a very lonely life. This is purpose development. You have a purpose and a destiny. On that road to greatness, life is actually designed to be full of roadblocks, to challenge you every step of the way. Every week we bring topics that you are probably dealing with daily, I know I am, that get in the way of being more successful in this world. And what a crazy world we're living in today. We are here to help you make better decisions, taking on topics that you really can't hear anywhere else. The most important element of our show is engagement. You can call us to be part of the show this morning, 804-454-1366, 804-454-1366. Jump on Facebook Live video. We're at facebook.com/greatpeopleshow. So you get to watch us in the studio. You get to interact with us, be a part of the show. We stay personally engaged with our audience continuously throughout the week. It's one of the most fun part I have about the show is just literally, this is the People Show. We've got the Great People Studio, the Great People table here.
That's right.
With the Great People Facebook Live. But this is way more than a radio show, James. This is a movement.
Wow.
We are here to help you make good decisions every day. It's the daily decisions that determine the mark that you leave on this world. Whether or not your purpose is fulfilled, you will leave a mark on this world, so you might as well leave the mark you were meant to make. This is the Great People Show. This is your guide to greatness, because we believe everyone needs a guide, a coach, a source to turn to when you need some insight and encouragement in today's world. Our content can change your life. The world gets crazier every day. I am, again, your host, J.J. White, and I promise to remain as sane as I can on this journey. And just a little bit about me. I have spent the last 17 years in Dale Carnegie here in Richmond, being part of hundreds of lives being transformed, not because I did it, but because people were looking for something different in their world. And I've coached, and I've pulled, and I've pushed, and I've done a lot of different things. And I just woke up one day and said, you know, more of the world needs this. So here we are, on the air, broadcasting all over the world. With me on this journey is my co-host, James Muncie. James, thanks for joining us here in the Great People Studio. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am glad to be here. And a little bit myself, I've owned a number of businesses here around the Richmond area. And for about the last decade or so, I've really devoted my career to helping other people who are trying to buy a business, change their business, expand it and grow it. Really helping other people's dreams with their businesses come to reality, and love that. Get a lot of fulfillment from that, and try to help people on their road to greatness.
That's awesome. One of the things you're going to hear often in our show is we have a very, very awesome sponsor called A Ginger Kid. You can go to agingerkid.com. It's a very unique organization, and the reason they're tied to us is because Nicole, the owner of the company, created this business. They're wooden heirloom toys that you could actually pass down to your children and your grandchildren, but it's specifically designed for the working parent. And both James and I are working parents. Yep. Where our time with our children is very limited. We just don't have enough time to, especially if we get home, do homework, do sports, that you can actually engage with your children. And we've got some here in the studio. This particular one's called Balance, also known as adult fidget spinner. So, James is going first. So he's got the green. I'm going with the pink right there. We're going to let that thing balance. And if you don't even know what we're talking about, join us on Facebook Live, facebook.com/greatpeopleshow. If you go to agingerkid.com, put in the key code GIFTS, you can get 25% off your order just for being a listener. Right. This show is a great way to highlight your company, either the products or even just a great place to work, because we highlight great people along this path. We interview great people that aren't highfalutin multi-billionaire people. These are real people just like you and me that have achieved some greatness or on their path to greatness, because we're all in this thing together. If you want to be a part of the show, you can contact me at jj@greatpeopleshow.com. We also simulcast on Facebook Live. You get to see the whole studio here. Later in the show, we're going to be taking callers, and our number here in the studio is 804-454-1366. Today, we're talking about fear. Now, we've been doing the show for a little bit. We've had multiple topics, but when we decided that we were going to have to come up with something very spectacular for our first live radio broadcast, because normally we'd record for weekend play, we got to the heart of what gets in the way of being great. And we're talking about fear in terms of, does fear debilitate you or drive you? And this is one of my favorite quotes. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a desire fulfilled is a tree of life. That's a Proverbs from the Bible. And this is a J.J. White quote that I got from this. Check this out. I usually don't quote myself here. This is pretty profound for myself. I don't know if you feel this way, but you will only achieve greatness when your desires are greater than your fears.
I like that a lot.
Well, thank you. We have one stamp of approval. That's awesome. When we are in a state of fear, it's near impossible to be the best version of ourselves. When I think of the entire path to maximizing the time we have on earth, from the time you're born to the time you leave, our path to greatness, the number one thing that will get in our way is fear. So we are starting there today. It's nowhere to go but up. Fear can trap you or it can release you. The goal is not to be fearless, as we constantly see marketed to us in today's world. That's not possible. This gives us no room to feel the adrenaline associated with looking fear in the eyes and saying, I feel you and I will beat you. It's the challenge. On multiple occasions, I have daily fears. And we're going to talk about that on today's show. I'm going to talk about some of the things that tend to get in my way. And James, I'm sure you have some too.
Yeah.
But I need fear to embolden me. I need fear to validate I'm not done pursuing excellence. A favorite quote is by Richard Branson. If your goals don't scare you, they are not big enough. When we went to Facebook this week for our research question, we do this every Monday night. You can play with this. You can engage with it. People are on both ends of the spectrum. Fear paralyzes me, is what I heard. And on the other end, fear drives my will to success, and it liberates me. We also saw a powerful quote, what you fear masters you. We are here to make sure that doesn't happen. James, what's your take on this whole fear subject?
I think fear gets a really bad rap in our society. You know, we're especially, I think, in stereotypical as men, we're told we shouldn't be scared of anything. And I think it's important that we all remember that fear is a natural human emotion, and most natural human emotions aren't bad. And like so many things in life, we need to have fear, but we need to have it in moderation. Fear shouldn't keep us from, say, getting on an airplane.
Sure.
But when we get on that airplane, we should have enough fear that we take a look at where the closest exit is.
Yeah.
You know, fear shouldn't stop you from chasing your dreams and opening that business you've always wanted to open. Fear of failure shouldn't stop you from doing that, but you should have enough fear that you have a plan B and a plan C. And so I think my big message today is to be aware of fear, know it's there, but embrace it. Don't be scared of fear.
Yeah.
Don't have a fear of fear.
Yeah.
Because it is a natural emotion. But don't let it consume you. It's just like our topic today. Does it debilitate or drive you? If you harness it right, it can absolutely drive you.
So if you're listening to today's show and you want to call in, we're here for you. Like this show is never designed for us just to bloviate all over the place about what we think. We're here for you. So if you're struggling with a fear today, give us a call. Let's talk about it. Or perhaps that you've been able to overcome a fear and you just want to call in and be an inspiration to others that are listening to the show right now. To be a part of the show, call us at 804-454-1366, 804-454-1366. When we come back, we're going to keep knocking this fear thing down.
I'm ready.
You're listening to The Great People Show.
Oh, I want something just like this. I want something just like this. Oh, I want something just like.
Hi, I'm JJ White, host of The Great People Show. As a parent, I'm now busier than ever and don't have a lot of time for teaching my child fundamentals or helping them build good foundations. That's why I love products by A Ginger Kid. They allow me to spend time teaching critical skills to my children while we all have fun. The quality wood used in A Ginger Kid products can't be beat, and the wooden texture brings a nostalgia that allows both my child and I to enjoy our moments together. A Ginger Kid products are about equipping parents to help their children learn with confidence. A Ginger Kid also helps me pause to take moments to create intentional memories with my children. These classic toys teach classic moments. Go to agingerkid.com and enter the promo code GIFTS to receive 25% off your order as one of our listeners. A Ginger Kid, the tools and toys that teach.
Before the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People was the Dale Carnegie course. Now, after 104 years, over 8 million people experience Dale Carnegie courses. People like Warren Buffett and Ronald Reagan. The Dale Carnegie experience uses proven techniques to permanently unlock the potential of top talent, making individuals into inspiring leaders and groups into high-performing teams, while reducing the financial and emotional costs of employee turnover. For more information, visit DaleCarnegieRichmond.com. That's DaleCarnegieRichmond.com.
Jacqueline and Nick thought they knew everything there was to know about each other. But after staying at the Omni homestead, where they discovered Nick was a natural in a kayak and Jacqueline had a zest for ziplining, they realized every journey is a chance to discover something new. How might staying at Omni affect you? From unlimited golf to intimate dining and romantic spa retreats, visit theomnihomestead.com to find the perfect package for your next getaway. The Omni Homestead Resort. Never stay the same.
I want something just like this.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the Great People Show. I'm JJ, and with me is James.
Good morning.
Which, those of you that maybe are just tuning in for the first time, I'm James too,
Suits.
which makes this James times 2.
James.
J squared. That used to be my nickname, James Square. Today we're talking about fear. The purpose of the show is to really challenge people to become their greatest self. And fear by far is the greatest barrier to that.
It is. And fear in so many things in life. I mean, let's be honest. You and I came up with this topic for today after the tragic events in Las Vegas, which took place earlier.
And you've spent some time in your past in Vegas, so you have a lot of personal connections out there.
Yeah.
And unsurprisingly to us, the reaction that a lot of people have is fear. Think about this. How do you think the Mandalay Bay right now is doing with their room sales?
They're probably not great.
They're probably not great, but I think you could get a good deal. I think you could be the safest person in the world there.
I think probably
right
so.
Now. Yeah.
And I think that you shouldn't let fear stop you from going if you've planned a trip.
Yeah, it's very similar to what happened with September 11th, which was obviously much, much larger in scope globally. Everyone was afraid to get on an airplane. Statistically, the law of averages say you really have nothing to fear.
Absolutely.
And a lot of this fear is based in things that we can't control, but we think we could control or should control. Well, I certainly can control whether I get on that airplane or not. But let's face it, unless you're the pilot, you're a pilot.
Yep,
so
I am.
Actually, you probably have more control than the rest of us, because if something goes wrong up there, you're going, I got this, folks.
I like to think so.
Could you do commercial?
At least I'll go down knowing what went wrong.
Could you do that? If you were in a commercial airline and is there a pilot on board, could you be the guy?
I'll be honest. I think about that every time I get on a commercial airplane. The answer is I have no idea.
Oh, okay. At the end of the day, have you been in a commercial cockpit to even?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your fears, I would imagine, your natural fears about that are probably minimalized.
Oh,
simply
absolutely.
Because you can control the situation at that point.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so reliable statistically. You're so safe, but again, it's very sensational.
Yeah. When
something happens on an airliner and it's all over the news.
Yeah, and the way that we react to these situations in our life, it is a reaction. It's an emotional reaction, and we found a list of questions that you need to really ask yourself about fear. It was from Inc.com, just to give them credit for this. These were really good. I pared a lot of these down. Really, it was a lot of common sense, but it was very important for us, as we look at this topic, to ask yourself, why am I dealing with what I'm dealing with? There are people listening to the show right now. Some of you are trapped by fear. Some of you are disabled by it. Others, literally, you woke up this morning and maybe you have a fear of public speaking, but you have a big presentation today. And it's either driving you to be more successful at that, or you're freaking out right now. Literally, you're like, I wonder if there's a way I could get out of this right now.
Yep.
But all you're doing is really delaying it. You're really not eliminating anything. You're just running away from it. And there's no way fear is going to go away if you run away. So the first question on this list is asking yourself, what am I really afraid of? Like, what is the worst case scenario here? Like, really, what could happen? I understand. I saw this video the other day of this guy that jumped out of an airplane with no parachute. Did you see this? They had a massive net.
I saw it on live TV when they did it.
You saw it live.
Oh, yeah.
So I saw the rebroadcast. That guy has a serious conversation with himself going, what am I afraid of? I'm afraid of dying right now, buddy.
Yeah.
Legitimate conversation.
That's very legitimate.
But for most of us, most of the time, we really have very little to be afraid of. What's the real loss here? And just to open up my can of worms that I deal with, James, you and I talked a little bit about this because we were in prepping for the show talking about what are we really afraid of. One of my greatest fears, and I should not fear this, I fear losing my children.
Right.
I literally fear walking into the room. I don't even like saying these words. I don't even like confessing this, but I think this is a part of me just getting over this, is I fear of waking up in the morning and getting them out of bed and them not waking up. And that is so ridiculous. There is absolutely no validity to that whatsoever because it's so centered on me and my feelings. What would I do?
It's an irrational fear.
Very irrational.
So to go to something that's very common, which was the first example you gave, say public speaking. So what am I actually afraid of? If I am going to a public speaking engagement today and I am scared to death to do that, what I'm actually afraid of is making a complete fool of myself. So how do I deal with that?
But does it matter? Does it really matter if you make a, and here's why in that context, because if you're giving a presentation, let's say there's 50 people in the room, there's at least 48 or 49 that are thinking to themselves, boy, I'm really glad he's up there doing it, not me. There's very little room for making a fool of yourself. It's probably not going to happen because no one else there really wants to do what you're doing either.
That's true.
And I think I've said this on the show, but I'll say it again because it's that important. When you're in your teens and 20s, you're really worried about what people think about you. When you get into your 30s and 40s, you become you're not worried about what people think about you. When you get into your 50s and 60s and beyond, you realize they weren't thinking about you to begin with. That ultimately, especially with public speaking, nobody's really thinking about you.
Right.
And it is a lot easier to deal with it when you're watching that train wreck from afar rather than being the one in the middle of it. But to this very specific topic, because you and I have both done a tremendous amount of public speaking.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of public speaking. The worst thing that can happen is you just start making fun of yourself. I've had moments where the PowerPoint went out. I had this presentation one time where it was called an Ignite presentation, where for 5 minutes you get 20 slides that roll every 15 seconds no matter what. And the way that this thing started was I go on stage and it was I get my slide, so I start talking. They flip the slide and it's a black screen.
Oh no!
So I don't know. Am I supposed to keep talking? Am I stop talking? Is it going to mess up the rotation? So I just started to kind of I go to the audience. I'm like, now, how many of you are wondering if this was actually going to happen while I was up here? And literally just started completely making fun of it because I was comfortable with myself. I was okay with myself. There was really nothing, in my opinion, that could go wrong up there for me personally. And that part of that is managing the fear.
Part of it is, but I know you and I are similar in that we both love public speaking. Yeah. That is one thing I have no fear of, and I know you don't. You don't either. I mean, I'm energized by it.
Well, that was the number 2 question here: is do I feel confident in my abilities to perform? A lot of our fears are lack of confidence, and the things that we do often in our life over and over, we become very confident in. We feel comfortable with because we know what the outcomes are probably going to be, with some exception. So not only do we lose fear, but we gain confidence. But both of those things, it's like salt water and fresh water coming from the same well. You can't draw them both. It's either salty or fresh. You cannot have confidence and fear at the same time. And it's amazing to me. I actually met with a young woman yesterday talking about her goals, and I was meeting with her and her dad. Her dad was very successful, and he said it and I said it. She was 20 years old. It's like, you've got everything you need to be successful right now. Like she was like a little mini rock star, but she didn't believe it. She was trapped by these fears. A lot of it was fear of the unknown.
That's interesting. And so tell me more about what you're saying about how you can't be confident and in fear at the same time.
So where does confidence lie? It lies in your mind and your heart. Where does fear lie? In your mind and your heart. It doesn't lie anywhere else. There's only so much space that both of these things are be able to take place inside of you. If it's the exact same thing, if you feel like, oh, that's easy, I can go do that, that's based in confidence. There's no fear in that. You can't say, oh, that's easy, I'm going to go do that. Oh, but I'm scared to death. There's nothing that makes sense with that. It just cannot coexist. This self-imposed pressure typically is where a lot of that comes from. And this is where that number 3 question is, am I pressuring myself to make decisions quickly when I don't have enough information? I see most fear coming from a lack of knowledge.
That's interesting.
Lack of knowing, lack of experiencing, lack of expecting what it is.
So take the airplane example. You're scared to fly because you're scared that the plane is going to, for some reason, fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
Well, if you had more information, if you understood the statistics, if you understood a little more about how a commercial airliner operates, you may not have that fear. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, that's a great example, because how many times have you been on an airplane and you heard this really crazy noise and your feet actually vibrate a little bit because of that noise? You're thinking, what fell off? Now, if you are a mechanic, you could pinpoint that, oh, that's just whatever happening.
Yep.
That's just a natural part of an airline. This is just, and maybe the analogy here is, this is just a natural part of life. While you're freaking out and getting wrapped up in something, this is a natural part of life. And if you're listening to the show right now and you want to participate in this conversation because maybe you're in the middle of this struggle, or perhaps you just got out of this struggle, call us. Be a part of the show. 804-454-1366, 804-454-1366. We're talking about fear because it is by far one of the greatest barriers that we have on our path to greatness. And we identified on the show several weeks ago, being great isn't about you being awesome or you being perfect or you being the best that you can be. Being great is how you contribute to other people's lives. Being great is how you contribute to this world, which somewhat leads us to the 4th one we're going to hit before we go to break. Is my sense of worth at stake in this moment? That so much of our fear is tied to, what value do we place on ourselves? How important am I? Or how unimportant am I? That's where the fear lies, doesn't it? It's
does.
I'm not an important person. So I'm insignificant. That's not true, but.
Well, it does. But also I hear it a lot from people that are working on acquiring a business, because their fear of failure more than anything else is, to them, if I fail in this venture, then my worth is a lot less. Everything that I believed I could do, everything I've always dreamed of doing, has all been for naught. And a lot of people don't want to take that chance. They don't want to risk even finding that out about themselves.
Yeah, and they're attaching themselves to this inanimate object of a business as if it's very similar. We've talked about this on the show before. It's like attaching our identity to our children. If they fail, I fail. Therefore, I fear that they will fail.
That's right.
Like my fear is wrapped up in their failure, because if they do it, I do it. It's a reflection of me. So we really, really enjoy talking to our callers here about these particular topics, because we can talk all day long about it, but we really want to help you all work through a lot of things that may be going on right now in your world, especially after, what happened over the overnight, over the weekend in Las Vegas, and just the things that get in our head and keep us from being successful. To be part of the show, it's 804-454-1366. We're talking about fear and how we need to get rid of it. Or, excuse me, I'm already correcting myself. We're not getting rid of it. We're just getting rid of the stuff that makes no sense for us.
Yeah. How we need to manage that fear, how we need to embrace that fear and let it drive us. When I've owned my businesses, JJ, there was a time where I had a little over $2 million in business debt. And was I scared of failing? Absolutely. I had a fear of failing, but that fear drove me to work my tail off to make sure that I met all of those obligations.
So when we come back, we're going to keep talking about this fear thing. Join us here on the show, 804-454-1366.
I want something just like.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. The FBI director says he's surprised that investigators have been able to find so little in the way of information about the Las Vegas shooter Stephen Paddock. Paddock, they say, led such a low-key private life. Nobody seems to know a lot about him. The 64-year-old had nearly no close friends, social media presence, or other clear connections to the broader world. The GOP is showing some willingness to consider a restriction on a gun accessory that may have played a role in the shooting. Senior Republicans on Capitol Hill are expressing openness to the idea of a ban on the so-called bump stocks, like the shooter in Las Vegas, apparently used to make semi-automatic rifles perform more like fully automatic weapons, allowing him to get off so many rounds in the nation's deadliest ever mass shooting. Wall Street opening at this hour with Dow futures up by 4 points. NASDAQ futures were up about 17 right before the opening bell. This is SRN News.
Napa know-how.
It takes a lot to get excited about a bag, but most bags can't save you 20% on auto parts. That's 20% off headlamps, 20% off oil filters, 20% off virtually anything you can fit inside the 99-cent Napa reusable bag. So tell your buddies, there's a bag they just have to check out. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating Napa Auto Parts stores while supplies last. Minimum 3 items. Exclusions apply. Offer ends 10/31/17.
I'm Jay Farner from Quicken Loans. The rate today on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.875%, APR 4.05%. But choosing the right mortgage lender means choosing more than just a rate. Does calling the company with 11 J.D. Power Awards for client service matter? Does calling the company that invented Rocket Mortgage, the industry's most innovative technology, matter? If working with America's #1 online lender matters to you, call Quicken Loans today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Equal housing lender, NMLS number 3030.
Hi, I'm JJ White, host of The Great People Show. As a parent, I'm now busier than ever and don't have a lot of time for teaching my child fundamentals or helping them build good foundations. That's why I love products by A Ginger Kid. They allow me to spend time teaching critical skills to my children while we all have fun. The quality wood used in A Ginger Kid products can't be beat, and the wooden texture brings a nostalgia that allows both my child and I to enjoy our moments together. A Ginger Kid products are about equipping parents to help their children learn with confidence. A Ginger Kid also helps me pause to take moments to create intentional memories with my children. These classic toys teach classic moments. Go to agingerkid.com and enter the promo code GIFTS to receive 25% off your order as one of our listeners. A Ginger Kid, the tools and toys that teach. Welcome back to the Great People Show. I'm JJ White, the host, and James, the co-host. We're playing with toys here in the studio. Ginger Kid, toys and tools that teach. We've got the balance beam going on here. To see what we're doing, check us out on Facebook. We do Facebook Live with the show. We feel like that is just such a cool way to interact with our audience at facebook.com/Great People Show. And James is trying his darndest to knock this thing over. He's not even playing the game right.
Let's see if we.
But in that part of life, there's
I've
life
no
the game.
fear.
There's life the game, and then there's your life the game. You just got to change the game. Look at you, man. Look at you go. Creating balance in your world. Wow, that's like a new tagline. We need to talk to Nicole about that. The reason this topic is so relevant right now, James mentioned this earlier, is because we've got all these things happening in the world that sometimes it affects us from afar. Other people it doesn't affect. You can't ignore it. I do know some people that ignore it because they're not connected to any news outlets whatsoever. Yeah. That news drives so much of our fears and what we should be doing and should not be doing, and it really takes us off track.
Yeah, I mean, the 24-hour news cycle is largely based around fear. I mean, the news spends most of its day telling us what we should be scared of.
And before we went to this last break, we were talking about how or questions we should ask ourselves about fear. And one of the questions that really is probably most relevant to what we were just talking about is, am I trying to protect myself from a particular outcome? And oftentimes these fears that we have are really rooted in our need to cover ourselves with some sort of a protective layer. And so we feel like the best action is just no action at all, or even worse, we're frozen by it. We really have no idea what we should do next rather than take action. Yeah.
And a lot of the time the easiest action is to take no action, and we use fear as an excuse to take that easy path.
And we've said this because part of our public service announcement here, that in the event of a zombie apocalypse, you're supposed to take action.
That's right.
You're not supposed to stay in the same spot. You're supposed to stay mobile because death is very limited. And apparently under some research, the state of Wyoming is the best place to go to survive a zombie apocalypse, in case you're wondering. So
I don't know if we could make it there in time.
Wherever you're at, I would try. I would try my darndest, even though Walking Dead scares the daylights. I just don't like that show. It's a good show, but the whole zombie thing freaks me out.
Me too.
And Sam won't even watch it. In fact, whenever she comes through the living room when it's on at night and she hears that, she goes, "Oh my gosh!" and
Really?
she starts walking real fast. Oh, it drives her up the wall.
I've never watched it.
That's why I walk around the house going. The kids love it. She hates it. So what are you scared of? Like literally, that's what I'm asking the audience right now. What are you really scared of? What are you really trapped by? Recently, I've been spending a lot of time listening to Dave Ramsey and the wonderful work that he does. And so many people have financial fears. Like they're just trapped by debt and not having enough money to do the things they want to do or even pay the bills, and to see the fear in their lives. So maybe that's something you're dealing with right now. Perhaps you're trapped by that. And we want to be here for you. We want to let you talk through it and see what we get free coaching on the show. Oh my gosh.
No charge.
No charge. Just our time, which is well worth spent with you.
You don't
all.
have to use your real name.
The great people listeners. Another one that really traps people is, am I afraid of making a mistake?
Yeah.
You seem like that kind of guy, James, that you cross your T's, you dot your I's. Do you ever get caught in a fear of making a mistake around that?
All the time.
Do you?
All the time. I mean, we all hate to make mistakes. I'm a very self-conscious person.
Yeah.
And so I think, to me, a lot of what scares me, or what the fear I have in making mistakes, is embarrassing myself in front of other people, and how are they going to judge me?
Oh, judgment
After I make those mistakes.
Yeah.
That is, I'll be the first to admit, that's not a good reason, but that's the truth.
Well, Gallup, we were talking about public speaking earlier. Gallup does this poll every year. Number one fear of adults. Everyone thinks it's death, but that's actually number two. Number one fear is the fear of public speaking. And we do public speaking coaching, we do presentation coaching, we do a lot of things around it, and it always boils down to one thing. What's in your head that's preventing you from being successful? And it's almost always a fear of being judged. Will they like me? Will they hear what I want them to hear? Will I say something stupid? Will I look dumb? That's where the fear lies. Mm-hmm. And one of my favorite stories is based on this statistic. That means most adults at any funeral would rather be laying in the coffin than standing up and giving eulogy. That's how crazy it is. Yeah. That's how, well, let's face it, when you die, fear goes away. So, I mean, in a way, it could be a relief mechanism rather than stand up there and choke on your own words, because that's what happens to a lot of people.
So you've made a career, JJ, in helping people around these things. So what about in your personal life? How did this used to impact you? How does it still impact you? How do you manage it?
On the
mistake,
the mistake thing.
Yeah.
I still, I think, deal with that a little bit, but I don't really care as much, because there's very little that I do in life that I cannot at least be part of the solution if I screw it up. Mm-hmm. I often say I could be wrong. I usually am. So in a way, I deal with the fear by not letting myself get too high on a pedestal with this thing. I think if you put yourself in a position where you think you know everything, or you should know everything, and there's all these spotlights on you, you're doomed for failure there, because you can't. We're fallible people. We are gonna screw up. We are gonna make a mistake. And I will not allow myself, first of all, to have an ego where I feel like I have all the answers and everyone should come to me. That's exhausting. Mm-hmm. But second of which, I don't want to be bound by these chains of I need to always have the answers. What I will frequently tell people when they come ask me questions, what do you think? Mm-hmm. 99% of the time, they'll tell me what they think, and guess what? They had the answer.
Yeah.
So why do I have to have the answer? Why do I need to put myself in a position where I have to feel like I know it all? It's exhausting. I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
So, and that's changed over life, because I felt like it was attached to my ego in my early 20s. That was my path to success in corporate America.
Yeah.
And by the way, I bombed on that path. I totally bombed. It wasn't until I was 27 that I bought my first business.
Right. And
because I realized I was a horrible employee. So at least I could find the worst boss in the world, which was me. So that's how I've dealt with it.
No, that's interesting. And I like this next one too, the number 7. Am I scared, or was I told this is scary, and so am I adapting to another's fear?
And I want to flip that around. Right. I want to flip that around. How often have we been in some sort of a state of confusion or fear about something. But when we shared it with someone that we trusted, admired, and respected, and they minimized it, they said, what's the big deal? Why are you thinking? And they literally say words that make us just feel okay about it.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that changed is someone speaking into our life. That's the only thing that changed. So that means the fear was false. And you may have heard this acronym. It's a popular one. False evidence appearing real. That with people that have told us things could be scary, we really need to surround ourselves with people that tell us we shouldn't be scared of anything.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the people that I want to be surrounded with, that give me confidence. And they may give us a false sense of confidence. That's cool. But I'd much rather be on that end of it than someone that's sitting there giving me false sense of fear. That's just scaring the daylights out of me.
Yeah. And I think that happens a lot. People who are our friends who think that they're trying to help us and give us good advice often do instill fear in us and create that fear.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And we're not short on things in life that are designed. I said this in the opening monologue, that life is actually designed to put things in our way to scare us.
Mm-hmm.
We're wired that way. We're in a way wired for fear, because that helps us stay alive. That helps us protect ourselves in this world. The most successful people, and I say success, most people think of being rich or having a lot of time. I mean, it's that's their version of success. I call success, or my definition of success, is just leaving this world with as big of a positive footprint as I could leave for other people to be inspired to on their path. It's that whole paying forward thing.
Yep.
But in order to be successful, we have to have these fears and these things thrown in our face so that we can work around them. Right? If there was really nothing to worry about, or everything was just so freaking easy, what is that?
Yeah. And so I would love to hear from one of our listeners.
Yeah.
When is a time in your life that you have allowed fear to come in? Maybe it's because a friend told you that you had something to be scared of, but when you really didn't. But when is a time that you let fear come in that somehow delayed you or changed what your plan was? Give us a call, 804-454-1366, 804-454-1366.
Yeah, when we come back, we're going to keep talking about this fear subject, and just knock it down a couple rungs on your ladder. Let's get this thing out of your way. You're listening to The Great People Show.
I want something just like this. I want something just like this.
Hi, I'm JJ White, host of The Great People Show. As a parent, I'm now busier than ever and don't have a lot of time for teaching my child fundamentals or helping them build good foundations. That's why I love products by A Ginger Kid. They allow me to spend time teaching critical skills to my children while we all have fun. The quality wood used in A Ginger Kid products can't be beat, and the wooden texture brings a nostalgia that allows both my child and I to enjoy our moments together. A Ginger Kid products are about equipping parents to help their children learn with confidence. A Ginger Kid also helps me pause to take moments to create intentional memories with my children. These classic toys teach classic moments. Go to agingerkid.com and enter the promo code GIFTS to receive 25% off your order as one of our listeners. A Ginger Kid, the tools and toys that teach.
Before the book How to Win Friends and Influence People was the Dale Carnegie course. Now, after 104 years, over 8 million people experience Dale Carnegie courses. People like Warren Buffett and Ronald Reagan. The Dale Carnegie experience uses proven techniques to permanently unlock the potential of top talent, making individuals into inspiring leaders and groups into high-performing teams, while reducing the financial and emotional costs of employee turnover. For more information, visit DaleCarnegieRichmond.com. That's DaleCarnegieRichmond.com.
Jacqueline and Nick thought they knew everything there was to know about each other. But after staying at the Omni homestead, where they discovered Nick was a natural in a kayak and Jacqueline had a zest for ziplining, they realized every journey is a chance to discover something new. How might staying at Omni affect you? From unlimited golf to intimate dining and romantic spa retreats, visit theomnihomestead.com to find the perfect package for your next getaway. The Omni Homestead Resort. Never stay the same.
You know, live radio is something else. We're sitting here going, gosh, nobody's calling us. I'm afraid that we're not saying the right thing. Come to find out, someone reached out to us saying, I'm trying to call, but the phone keeps ringing. So if you've been trying to call the show, we apologize for the technical malfunction. The phones are ringing again.
Even the great people phone.
Even the great people phone is back in action. You know, we need a sponsor for the phone so this kind of stuff doesn't happen. So please reach back out to us. If you tried earlier and you couldn't get through, 804-454-1366. So we do have a caller on the line. Elizabeth, thanks for calling the show. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hello. What's going on?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. This is Elizabeth.
Hey.
Hi.
So what's we're talking about fear. What's going on in your life?
Well, my fear lately is that I'm not doing the right things with my kids.
Why do you feel that way?
I have a little troublesome little one.
Okay.
He's going through some stuff right now, and he is quite combative with his father and I.
Okay.
And I'm doing everything that I can, and right now I'm just fearful that maybe I'm not doing enough. Maybe I'm not doing the right thing. Maybe I need to be doing something else. And I think parental fear is a huge, huge thing.
Have you always felt this way towards this fear? Have you always had some sort of a fear with your children, or is this something that just came up and ignited it?
I think it definitely brought it to the forefront. I don't know. I don't think you can be a parent without fearing that you're doing the wrong thing a little bit.
But you felt like you've done the right thing up to this point.
Right.
Yeah.
But all we want to do is we want to raise good little kind people and send them out into the world and let them be good kind people out in the world. And I think a parent's biggest fear is not doing that.
Elizabeth, what is the worst? What is the worst that could happen right now? If you happen to just screw things up as a parent in this particular episode in your child's, by the way, how old is your child that we're talking about?
He's 8.
He's 8. Okay. So worst case scenario, he's 8. He's having some behavioral problems and you just don't handle it the way that you want to handle it. What's the worst that can happen?
I suppose he forgets about it the next day.
Yeah, the worst, right?
Right?
Yeah, the absolute worst. And you're by chance also speaking to the parent of another 8-year-old. And so I absolutely know what you're going through. And you have so little control over this. There's only so many responsibilities that we have as a parent. The other side of this is, as far as being a parent, and your situation is about you and an 8-year-old. Most of the fears that we have actually have to do with us and other adults that we have even less control over. And I think that's part of being a parent, is we feel like we should have so much control over the situation. My advice is you can only do what you can only do. And any fears, there should be a drive there for you to want to be a better parent and to resolve the situation with your son. But anytime you have fear, your son is going to see it. He's going to feel it. And that's going to make his situation even worse, because maybe one of the behavioral challenges that he's having is he just needs mom to be a better listener, or maybe he needs mom to relax a little bit more. Who knows? I would just be very sensitive about letting that fear drive you even further into the wrong direction. I can just tell by the fact that you're calling into a radio show to talk about this, that's not going to happen, because most parents get too anxious with it. So that would be my advice. James, what do you think?
I think you're right on. You know, the great thing about kids, or one of the many great things about kids, but one of the great things, the children are not going to judge you. I mean, especially young children. Children, they don't realize a lot of the time when you've screwed up, because I can tell you I have screwed up plenty of times as a parent.
Amen.
Yeah.
But your kids, I think you hit it on the head JJ, our children and our animals, more than anybody else, will pick up on our emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And you have got to be able to keep your emotions in check with your kids. I've been in a few situations with my children where there's been something going on in a public space that has had me very concerned. And my goal has been not to show that fear to the kids.
Yep.
Because they're going to pick up on that. I think that's huge.
Elizabeth, thanks for calling the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, have a good day. She brings up an interesting point. I mentioned this earlier, that my greatest fear is involving my children.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the fear that we hold on to is because we're worried about us.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, that fear is with my children, but that fear is based on how would that make me feel if that happened,
mm-hmm.
right? We don't want to carry around these feelings, so we get scared that we're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Just like if we're confident about something, then that's going to drive the positive feelings in our life. So we're moving into a sense of more confidence. We want to thank Elizabeth for calling into the show. If you're on either end of the spectrum with fear, if you're currently engaged in something that you feel is just making you hold some fear that you shouldn't have, or if you're at the other end, you've recently come out of some state of fear, you beat fear, call and tell us your story, or call in for some advice. We're at 804-454-1366, 804-454-1366, especially if you tried to call earlier, because the great people phone lines, they just weren't zapping with each other. We're talking about fear. The other one that we have not really addressed yet is, am I scared of feeling a feeling? I know some folks, close personal friends that are in their 40s that have decided never to get married,
mm-hmm.
never to have children.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had some very open conversations about this. It's because they have a fear of all the feelings that come associated with failed marriages.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The reason they're not getting married is because, and it's really based in their experiences with their parents. They saw what their parents went through, divorce, whatnot. So they just said, hey, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to remove myself from the situation. Is that a legitimate way to deal with your fears? Is just pull yourself out of even potentially experiencing something?
I would say absolutely not. And, my wife and I, we come from very opposite childhood backgrounds.
Yeah.
I come from like a fairy tale childhood. My parents been married, since 73.
I was wondering why you keep wearing that tutu.
Yeah. my wife's family though, my mother-in-law has been married 4 different times.
Okay.
My wife has not spoken or seen her father since she was 7 years old.
Really?
So, but what she has chosen to do with her life is to try to be, where I'm trying to model my childhood. Her whole goal has been that she wants what she never had.
Yeah.
And she is driven. She is driven to.
She leaned into it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel so bad for someone who's going to miss out on so many great things in life because they have a fear like that they're letting overwhelm them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's escapism. Is that a word?
Yeah, it is now.
I see a lot of people do that. A lot of people run from things in their life because they just can't deal with the potential negative outcomes.
Yeah.
We said this a lot earlier in the show, that a lot of the fear is based on not knowing the outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
So if I just completely remove myself from the situation, then hey, that's how I'm going to deal with it.
I can't get hurt that way.
You can't, right?
Yeah.
But you can. You can't run from all the negative things in your life.
No, you're not living.
It's impossible. Another one is, am I putting all my eggs in one basket and pressuring myself to succeed on the first attempt?
Yeah, I see that one a lot.
In what ways?
So I deal with people on a day-to-day basis who are taking their life savings, a lot of the time literally rolling their 401k rollover into acquiring a business.
Wow.
That they will also be signing all sorts of personal guarantees, putting their house up for, etc. And they are literally going all in on acquiring this business.
That's scary.
It is scary.
Right.
And the pressure to
scares me hearing about
it. And I've been there, and which is one reason I love my job, because I can talk to these
So
people.
you're that guy on the. So we were just saying a few minutes ago. You're that one that can minimize the fear by breathing some real life experience into it.
Yeah. That's what I try to do. Is I think it's one reason that I enjoy what I do, because I've been in that seat, and I've been through the other side of the looking glass, and I've seen it all. But the fear that some of these people have will ultimately stop some of them from doing it.
I want to bring up something we were talking about right before the show. And we talked whenever we opened the show. This is not a show about personal development. It's about purpose development.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sure, there is definitely some personal development involved in it, but it's about purpose development. And I don't exactly remember the words that we were using, but the greatest way to overcome fear, if you are rock solid in knowing your purpose and your why, there's very little things that are going to be thrown at you in life that will really cause you fear, no matter what happens, because you will know it's either in your purpose or out of your purpose.
What if I'm scared that my why could be wrong?
That's why you need us. I've never thought about that. I've never, ever thought about that. The process that we use to get to people's why and the purpose is all based on where you've been. It's all based on where you've been. Rarely should people be chasing a purpose and a why that has absolutely nothing to do with what you've already been through.
Mm-hmm.
Life just doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. The grass not only is not greener on the other side, there's actually nothing on the other side. You're standing in the grass that you're supposed to be standing in. So it's hard to get it wrong if you just stay where you're at and think about where you've been, and then it becomes very crystal clear on where you should be going next. Where I think people get really in trouble, they get worried about what's over the fence. Well, what if I'm supposed to be over there? What if? I think that's where you can get wrong.
I think you're absolutely right. And people, myself included, often don't think about it that way.
I didn't until just now.
Mm-hmm.
I confess, I've never been asked that question. I've never been asked, what if I'm wrong about my why? And one of the ways that you can stay consistently engaged in your why is to continuously listen to the Great People Show. We take the show and we put it on iTunes. It's on a podcast, so you can go to iTunes and find the Great People Show. All of our shows are archived there. You can go to our website at greatpeopleshow.com. Since we do the show on Facebook Live, it stays on Facebook, but we also put it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great resource to just keep your mind focused on what you should be important in life, or what you should be doing in life that is most important. Because I feel like we get most distracted, and we took a big jump here this week with being on live radio and sharing with the world what we do and how we do it.
And I think it's worth noting, by the way, we are here on 820 AM and 97.7 FM just on Thursday mornings. So we're here Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. And
it's rebroadcast Saturday mornings at 8. This has been a wonderful show. We are always on a journey with you, our listeners. And I would like to leave you with this quote today, or start to leave you with one of these quotes. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear involves punishment, and the one who fears is not perfected in love. 1 John 18. Stop punishing yourself. Live in love. We love you. Thanks for being part of the Great People Show. I'm JJ.
I'm James Muncie.
Join us back here next Thursday at 9 a.m. The Great People Show.
See you then.
Peace.